Welcome. Well, we're going to do a little discourse on little Revelation, and the book of Revelation, and the number 9, which is, of course, this number of consciousness. This number just, well, I was reading Campbell during vacation time, and he was showing that the absolute ultimate holy number, the holiest number of record throughout the entire universe, is number 5040. And there are particular reasons. But this number 9 is a number of consciousness, and for the most part, it's a feminine number. It is the number of spiritual consciousness. It can be, as we know, lower. It can be higher. In the book of Revelation, we learned to identify the mark of the beast as 666, which added together equals 18, which added together is 9. And so then what's being said here, the mark of the beast, is simply a coded message saying to us so that this message can be used 20,000 years ago, today, 20,000 years from now. It'll always mean the same thing, that there is a part of us that obstructs the movement that is natural for us to find in order to accomplish on this earth what is the goal of nature, which is a restoration away from ego and away from the powers of desire and so forth. And so it is portrayed by this number 9, and then to deepen the plot of symbolism and mythology, allegory, and so forth, it comes in so many various shapes of remember we talked about 432 just before I went on vacation, 432,000 and so forth and so on. It always comes out to 9. But if you look on page 1010, 1010, in your little Bibles, you come to the point of Revelation at Revelation chapter 14. And right after the beast is covered as far as being 666, it says, in chapter 14 and verse 1, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads." Well, you know, now we're getting into very occult things. It's always interesting to me that people tend to be afraid of the occult, and yet carry a Bible around with this type of language in it. You know. This now actually becomes the higher part of the number 9, although we'll put it at the lower point here, which is 144. And it obviously adds up to that number 9. And so here we're looking at the duality. We have the lower 666, which is the consciousness which causes us the problems that we experience during our life. And you don't have to put a label on it and say this is the 666 one, because you know when you feel the way you do. I know when I feel the way I do. And in the same way, when we put the 144 on it, we're talking about a higher realm. So there is something within the human psyche, there is something within the human mind, and the great psychologists and psychoanalysts such as Carl Jung and others have talked about. There is a place within the skull, within the human brain, where we can have activation of this thing called God. It happens in a natural way. In the same way we were talking a few moments ago about these energies that are in the earth, and we say, oh, beautiful things happen in this particular place, so we identify it with a saint or some kind of holy person. Well, it has nothing to do with a saint or a holy person. It's natural. In the same way here, we can identify this with a Holy Spirit. We can identify this with a touch of God or a touch of Jesus. And then all of a sudden we get mature enough to realize, hey, this is nature. This is natural. It's available to every human being. It doesn't make any difference. As it says in the Bible, God is no respecter of persons. It doesn't make any difference if you're a Christian or a Muslim or what you are. Like when we were talking about a few weeks ago, if you're a Muslim and you meditate, you're never going to see Jesus. If you're a Christian and you meditate, you're never going to see Muhammad. If you're a Hindu and you meditate, you're never going to see Buddha. And if you're a Buddhist, you're never going to see Krishna. It depends on what you are as to what you'll see. Beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. And as Albert Einstein said, it is impossible to find a place of rest. In other words, the center doesn't exist except where you are. And just think of your life. Think of your life whatever it may be, the negative parts of your life or the positive parts of your life, in actuality, the only thing that concerns you for the aspect of the 24-hour day is yourself, your survival. That is all that's gone on from the time you first uttered a peep when you come out of your mother's womb until this very day. The only thing really is your health and your survival. You feed yourself, you cleanse yourself, you do the necessary things to keep yourself alive. And then when you start deteriorating in one way or the other, whichever way it may be, you go into panic stages. You have to run to the doctor to have this done or that done. Things start falling apart. It is all centered on the self. And so then so much time centered on the self, and so much of it is unhappiness. And so you have to try to find out what the heck is wrong. You know, the scriptures and the ancient texts identify two aspects, but for the most part, have been allowed to consider the one. It's like we were talking about this morning. We're allowed to consider the Isaac part, but we're never been allowed to consider the Ishmael part. We're allowed to consider the fact that what we were talking about before, Fatima, it's a Christian thing. We've never been told that it has influences from the Muslims. And so how can you live your life? How can you be fulfilled? How can you find a correct pathway? Well, let's look at what it says. It says in Revelation 14:1, a lamb on Mount Zion. Okay. Now the lamb, when you see that word, you get into the new word we're using, a cosmology. And the cosmology is Aries. See, what's the sense, in other words, of talking about a lamb on top of a mountain? That's silly. I looked and I saw a lamb stood on the mountain. Literally, it's silly. But once you realize that the mountain is the peak of the universe, the highest point, and you understand that there's a connection, there is a part of your body that connects with this lamb. And the part of your body that's physical, actual, that connects with that lamb is the pineal gland of the brain. Pineal gland of the brain. That's the lamb. And that's the highest, that's the point within you that's been so neglected. Because who knew? I mean, I didn't know. Until I got into this thing, I never even knew that this existed. You didn't know. And yet this is a trigger mechanism, according to the ancients, that opens up this higher realm. So where would the lamb be? On the mountain, because where's the pineal gland? It's in the skull. It's in the higher part of the brain. It sits there. You can get Albert to give you some of his physiology books, and it'll show you where it is. Right? So there's a way of describing it. So now this makes things a little better, because we seem to understand that this gland is in everybody's head. It's not somebody, it's just not Christians have it, Muslims don't. Everybody has it. If you don't go to church, you still have it. If you don't read the Bible, it's still there. And if you stimulate it, it'll work. It doesn't make any difference whether you know the Bible or you don't. What we try to do is try to show you in some way how these ancient stories were also very familiar with this gland. Let's take a look. Maybe you haven't seen this before. Others that have seen it before, bear with me. I don't have it written down, but look at the book of Genesis, the first book in the Bible. Look at Genesis chapter 32. Look at Genesis chapter 32. Is it hot in here? Is it me or what? No? Okay. It's me. All right. Hot flashes and whatever. Maybe it's that time of year. I don't know. Christmas time. Oh, incidentally, we planned today, with the help of some folks who sat around, I think, a very beautiful Christmas Eve. We're going to have an old-fashioned Christmas. And we're going to have, what the heck are we going to have? Christmas carols. We're going to have a reading of The Night Before Christmas and all through the house. We're going to have a reading of the biblical Christmas story. We're going to have a communion, a special Christmas communion. We're going to have a lighting of the candles and singing stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm crying thinking about it. Refreshments, if you want to bring something. So it's going to be, and the whole thing will go from 7:30 till 9, so you'll be out of here and be with your family. But I think it'll be a very, and you know what goes on in this room. It's a very special, gentle, beautiful room. So I think it's some nice things. It'll be a nice way to spend an hour and a half and really get into a family Christmas. And I am going to practically play no part in it at all, which will be great. Everybody is going to do all this stuff. I'm going to sing Delbert McClinton songs. Who's Fooling Who is the name of him. 7:30. Now look, Genesis chapter 32. I wanted to show you something. Did you find it in the Bible? Go to verse 30. Here's Jacob where he has been struggling with himself. And look what he says. He found this place where he can see God face to face, and he calls the name of the place what? Peniel. Okay? So there it is. And so then he said, well, wait a minute, it's in the Bible. That there is a place within you called pineal. And it's simply a gland in your brain. And you can read about it in that green book back there, the scientific discoveries in the, made in the New York Times and so forth and so on. This thing really works. And so you don't have to be religious. You don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to read the Bible or any of these things to get this thing flowing for you. And it changes your life. So when we start to look at this, the Lamb on the mountain, we're talking about the pineal gland of the brain, which is located in the highest part. 666 is the lower consciousness. That's the part. When you look at your life, just stop for a minute and think about your life. And think about some of the negative aspects of your life. You may not have caused them. I know in some of the negative aspects of my life, I didn't cause them, but I lived through them. Okay? But still it was 666 all the way. It was 666. It was, if it wasn't me, it was somebody else producing out of their carnal mind stuff that caused me a lot of problems. And you could probably say the same thing. You may have caused other people a lot of problems because of what came out of here. It doesn't mean that you deliberately even did anything, but it came out of here nonetheless. And then you could think of some of the good parts of your life and some of the things that say, gee, were pretty nice, and you could say, well, okay, this was the 144 part. So there's nothing you can do. You can't say, well, I'm going to dwell more on this part than that part, because you can't. It's not possible to do it. And it has to be done through this method of, in the same way that if you want to go to Fatima or you want to go to the vortex in Arizona and get near the energy, there's a vortex within you at the pineal gland of the brain. You've got to go there. And if you go there and you bring yourself to that, it'll happen. And it doesn't make any difference whether you believe it or not. Belief has nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant. Remember what I told you? When winter comes, it doesn't make any difference if you believe it's going to get cold. Look, you all got jackets on. You don't have to have any belief. It happened anyhow, didn't it? You could come in here with your jockey shorts, not that, what kind of shorts do they wear? Bermuda shorts. Say, this is, I don't care, this is December, I don't believe in December. I'm a fundamentalist, I believe it's going to be warm. But you got to freeze your little thing off because it's cold, and that's the way it is, see? So it doesn't depend on your belief, see? Take all your beliefs and go to the bathroom with them and flush them. Because your beliefs are irrelevant, especially nowadays. What does your beliefs mean? Nothing anymore. You have to keep up with the newspaper, all the changes and all the things that are happening. And the reason is because this thing is a little pine cone-shaped thing in the center of the brain, and it is activated by these electromagnetic fields, and it does things in your head. See? So you come in and say, oh, this guy's a bunch of junk. And all of a sudden you start picking up electromagnetic fields from Uranus or something like that, and then you're in here meditating and all kinds of stuff. And you say, oh, gee, I never thought I'd be the one to do that. Certainly you didn't. It's just like we were talking this morning about Nelson Mandela in South Africa getting the Nobel Peace Prize with the president of South Africa standing on the same podium, and they're getting their prizes. And it wasn't too long ago they would have killed each other for a nickel. What happened? Something changed the way they think. See? Yasser Arafat, and we were talking with this fellow who knows him very well. And this is Yasser Arafat. What happened? He just changed the way he thought of things. He didn't change anything. It was changed for him. And this is what's happening to you. See? So you could say, I'm full of baloney, and go ahead. Doesn't make any difference. But you're going to change the way you think one way or the other. And if you buck it, it'll roll right over you. It'll kill you. This energy will kill you. If you fight this energy, it'll kill you. Because you know what the most important thing here, and it talks about it in this book, is you better get in harmony with it. It's like, trying to swim against the current. It'll kill you because you're going to lose. So if you flow with it, you say, well, if I flow with the current, I don't know where it's going. That doesn't make any difference. The current in this particular case happens to be nature, and nature knows where it's going, so we have to flow with it. What I say this morning, I said we want to get a big screen TV in here so we can show some of these great things. I was making plans, and I just bit my tongue. I said, wait a minute. I don't want anything. I'm not going to do anything. It's going to happen because we're going to flow with nature. The whole thing may change. We might find ourselves out in a lot somewhere. I don't know. So that's the way it is. But and I'm telling you, and you can see them. You can see, look at Russia. The people that are flowing with this new thing, which is infecting the consciousness all over there, are moving along with it. Those that aren't are being ground up. There's a new mythology being written, and it's being written in the words of the dolphins. And it's that you must flow in the harmony with this energy. And that's what this is talking about. See? So here, it says in verse 14, chapter 14:1, 144,000 having his Father's name written in their foreheads. Sure, where's the pineal gland? Smack right in the middle of your forehead. And that word name, when you say the Father's name, that word name means way. The way of the Father is written in your forehead, which means the way of that which you call God or nature is in your mind. It's in your mind. You know? See, when you try to, you know what's interesting? What's interesting? When you try to plan what you're going to do, here's a challenge for you. Plan your dream for tonight. When you go to bed, plan what you're going to dream. What's going to happen? You're going to dream, but not what you plan. You know, some bizarre thing is going to happen completely out of your control. So your plans are irrelevant, especially now, when the earth is gearing itself up to go one way and we're going to go another way. So what we're deciding here, we're making a great statement on the part of the board of this church. We don't know nothing. We're not planning anything. Whatever happens, we'll see. And we'll react. You know, a guy called me in Florida from California, was he? And he wants us to go on a national satellite network, 24 hours a day satellite booming out all of this stuff. I said, I don't know. Send the stuff, and we'll see what happens. So the stuff comes in the mail. So, you know, I just have to wait now and see. You know, if I had planned, the last time I planned this satellite thing, remember, it was a big disaster. But now they came here. Maybe it is. I don't know. But we have to react to things through our meditation. Look what it says in verse 14:2. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters. This is an interesting thing. That word water means truth. Okay? The voice from heaven is something that speaks to you in your higher mind. And that word, that voice means, that water means truth. See? And interestingly enough, in the Bible, it always comes out of stone. It comes out of rock. It doesn't come out of brick. It comes out of that which is natural. Remember? It said to Moses, tap the stone and the water will come out. It's the pineal stone. Touch it, and the water will come, the truth. What did Moses do? He hit it twice. And you know what? He never was able to see the promised land because he hit it twice. Oh, so that's a terrible thing to keep him out of the promised land just because it's an allegory. That didn't happen. Never happened. It's simply saying you'll never get into this place we're talking about if you bring anything of your own initiative. You're told to touch it, you just touch it. You don't need any smoke, you don't need any feathers, you don't need any crystals, you don't need anything else. Just touch it. Because all the other stuff you bring with it is Moses hitting it twice. And it says you'll never see it that way. You can't bring anything of yourself in it. Because when you get there, when you arrive at this sacred place, you'll never know you've been there. You'll have no idea. See? Because you are left outside. That's the message of Sabbath. You can bring no burden into the holy city at the seventh, which means nothing from your mind can come into the holy place. You just go. You're in there. You'll never even know you've been there. But you'll know that something has happened by what occurs in your life after. One of the things that was interesting, Joan and I were talking about it on the way down to Florida, and I was going to ask you people about it, and I forgot to ask this morning. I don't know if you were here. I don't know who was here. But evidently the last session that we had on Tuesday, when I spoke, Joan said that there was an accent attached to the word, to what was said, some kind of a strange or foreign accent. And if anybody knows anything about that, is that what? If anybody knows anything about that, I'd like to know. See, what I didn't know, didn't have any idea about that, and I'd be interested, just if anybody had heard that, that we could Just think about it and ponder where this might lead or where it's come from. Although, we can't get into it to try to plot it out, but it's just interesting to talk about. So this voice from heaven as of many waters is that which is the truth, which comes from within you. What you heard tonight was, is this the first time? Many of you have come through Catholic churches, Christian churches. We talked about this morning Our Lady of Fatima. And I dare say, here you are sitting in the basement of this crazy place in Forked River, and you heard that it was a Muslim shrine, and Fatima is the name of Muhammad's daughter. You never heard that before. You never heard it before. And you've been to church all of your life. You've gone to church in Easter, you've gone to church in Christmas. Nobody ever told you this. And it's a pretty significant thing. I mean, thousands, millions of people go there, and yet they're taught to stay away from these people, Muslims. They're the evil people, and yet you're going to their shrine, worshiping the Lady of Fatima, which basically is Muhammad's daughter. Whoever told you that? So here, then, as we come together, we start hearing things about the Bible is simply outlining allegorically things that go on in your brain, things that go on inside of your head. And how can you can control. The ancient Kabbalah says the emanation which produced the creation of the universe is like water gushing out from its source and spreading over everything there. See, remember in the Bible, water will come out of the stone if you touch it. That's what Moses was told. Touch the stone and water comes out. What does Jesus do? See, here's the quotient. You know what's the word I'm looking for? You add this, you add that, you add the other thing. The prescription or whatever you want to call it. You mix the stuff. What is it? Yeah, well, let me read it. Stone to water to wine. The source of truth is the stone. Touch the source and you get the truth, which is the water. The water then turns into the wine, which is the divine, that which is the spirit, that which is the cosmos. So, Moses, touch the stone and water will come out. Jesus, take the stone jars. The water of the stone jars will then be turned into the wine. You see? It's all the same thing. But you just carry it, you carry it to another level, another stage. It's very, very interesting. And so now, when you look at some of these things that are the ancient things, the Stonehenge and the things of the Druids and the things of the Celts and so forth and so on, and science now is finding that at these points, underground water and causing something to come out of the stone, which is a cyclic rhythm. In fact, there's one place in Stonehenge where the scientists found that when they went in between these stones, all the sounds from around outside were completely cut off. There was nothing but sound. You couldn't hear a thing. So that's why it was necessary. So out of the stone comes the water, which is the truth, which then becomes the divine. In other words, the point is that these people that we called pagans knew a heck of a lot more about the science of what we think is God than we've ever known. Because what we've done, we've destroyed all of the holy places. Do you know that there was a place, I believe it was in Ireland, where they had all of these fantastic things. These stones and so forth were put up, and they said that the electromagnetic field, and the first things that the Catholics did when they went in was leveled this thing. Just leveled it. Because as far as they were concerned, this was occult devil stuff. See? It's just a scientific, this is a scientific thing of connecting with nature. But they didn't know. The ignorance of it, see? And so the Buddha, Karita says, as soon as Buddha was born, I love this, the thousand-eyed Indra, well pleased, took him gently, bright like a golden pillar, and 2 pure streams of water fell down from heaven upon his head with mandara flowers. So water comes to the truth. Basically, what's being said is when you touch that pineal stone, then you start to understand the truth. Even if you sit here and listen, you're understanding things. You're hearing things that you never heard before. And you should know doggone well that they're true. If you're going through your whole life just by people who are conniving in order to keep a certain institution intact, not daring to tell you these things. Don't tell them. Don't let them hear them. It's not any different than what the church did with this Father Porter who was just convicted of molesting children. Send him to the church. Here's your new pastor. Don't tell them what he did. Don't tell them. Say. It's the same. Here, don't tell them about this. Don't let them find out, because then the institution suffers. Church suffers. And that's what's going to happen, because there is a mass exodus. You talk about the Exodus. The Exodus in the book of Exodus is nothing compared to the Exodus from religion today. And it's because of the reunion between the yin-yang and the three-star, and so forth and so on. The ancients, before the oldest stories of mythology, gave a spiritual and mystical meaning to water because of its life-giving power and what we were talking about. So in addition to many waters, which is God's higher truth in 14:2, it talks about a voice of great thunder and the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And thunder is an expression of this divine will. What's the divine? If your life has been miserable, is that the divine will? Is that what nature wanted for you? For you to be unhappy? It's obviously not. That can't be. That's silly. Then what's the sense of all of this? I'm going to create a world and make them miserable. And I'll just watch them down there beating up people. And for what? But that's all we've done. Misery. Dwelling. We're down in Florida, and I turn on the television every day. I have never heard of so many people killing each other for nothing. They had a situation there in Florida where this young couple, they're 22 years old, and he always takes his girlfriend to work. And this day he took her to work, and in the parking lot he picked out a gun, shot her in the head, and as she fell in his arms, he shot himself in the head, and nobody knows why. Nobody knows why. How miserable can you be? How unhappy can you be? How violent then can you become when this 666 is activated inside of you? You know how violent you can become. But your violence is bad enough. My violence is bad enough. And it's acted out in the house. And there are children there. There are animals there. There are physical things that get in the way. But you take the same 666 type of ethic, put it into the hands of a president of a country or a king of a country, and all hell breaks loose. Then millions of people get killed. And what this book here is trying to tell you is there is something inside that is smaller. How big is a pineal gland, Albert? Is it the size less than your finger? There's a small, you know what? You know how Jesus described? If you have the stone the size, you had the faith the size of a mustard seed. Inside of you is this little thing, and it will activate and change your life around. But you know what you have to do, see? You have to stop blaming devils, and you have to stop blaming everybody else, and you have to say to yourself, well, I know this is true, but will I do it? And you know, in most cases, you know what you'll say? No, I won't. In most cases, you say, it doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to join any church. You don't even have to show up at any church. But it takes maybe 20, 30 seconds a day of your time, which is far too much. See? I mean, what I'm saying is true. I've said, give 15 seconds in the morning, give 15 seconds in the afternoon. You can do it with that, but even that's too much. And you say, I'm going to do this 15 seconds in the morning, I'm going to do this 15 seconds every afternoon. You know what you'll find out? After 2 days, you won't even bother with it. I'm too busy. Are you going to take your 15 seconds? I can't now. See? But we want it. But you come here and you listen, oh, I want this happiness. I want to be able to flow with nature. I want to find this new way. But I will not discipline myself to this. AJ and Sean were here this morning. We're out in Colorado or Arizona, and they attended this Buddhist thing where the Buddhists came to this college and put on a service, a meditational type of demonstration. You know what gets a kick out of this? Albert, what really I get a kick out, people come in and say, oh, the music is too loud. You know, I like to meditate in silence. You never heard such crashing and explosions with these Buddhists. Boom! And then they blow the trumpet. You know, and all of this stuff crashing all over the place. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to take that, which is the power of the earth, the movement of the winds in the cosmos, and they're, by all of these sounds, they're symbolizing the coming together of these things. You know. So, you know, but how much do we know? The voice of the Lord is upon the waters, Psalm 29 says. And from the Iliad it says, I will go myself to snow-clad Olympus to tell this thy saying to Zeus, whose joy is in the thunder, if perchance he may hearken to me. So you'll hear it or you won't hear it, you know. You'll feel it or you won't feel it. Your life will become more difficult during this age than ever you could imagine if you don't harmonize with it. because that's the way the energy is changing. And if you vibrate against it, it'll kill you. It's that simple. And it's not a threat or anything like that. It's like saying if you go out in the snow with any clothes on, you probably get a cold. It's the same way. If you obstruct this type of energy which is flowing now, it'll hurt you. And finally, in 14.2, it says the voices of harpers on their harps, and that's simply harmony. It says, I, Lakshmi, and the Hindu Vishnu reside in the sound of musical instruments. It's a rhythm of love. It's vibrations of harmony. And that's what basically our problem is that we're not in harmony with, not in sync with nature. When down you see the dolphins or all these things, you see pictures of them. There's a tremendous harmony. They function in one way. I saw today the geese taking off and flying over the house, and there was a tremendous harmony. They were all flowing in this harmony. You never see them. You never see these geese flowing back and forth in all different directions. They're always in harmony. It's always people that are flying back and forth in different directions. And then what happens? You're miserable, very unhappy. You know, and basically what you'll say, you're not even telling me. You'll tell everybody here, you'll tell the person, oh, everything's fine. Yeah, I feel fine. And inside you're constantly telling yourself, I'm fed up with this, I'm sick of this, I'm disgusted with this, I don't want it anymore, I'm bored with this, and all of these things go on and on and on and on and on. Because that's where you feel, because you're not in harmony with anything. Not even in harmony with yourself. And that's what's being talked about. You've got to get in harmony. This harping is talking about the energy of harmony, the renewal of the mind. It says in 14.3, there's a new song before the throne. Look at that. This is the new, this is what I'm telling you, new song. For God's sakes, go out and tell everybody the Lady of Fatima is a Buddhist, is a Muslim. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Go and do it. Go to church Sunday. We'll go to a Catholic church and say, can I stay up? Can I just get up and make a little, I want to tell you something. You may never heard this. Oh, this is going to, you're going to love it. The Lady of Fatima is a Muslim. Is this great? Tell them. You get shot. You get killed. You'll get killed. But you know what? For telling the truth. Doesn't make any difference that it's the truth. And you say, everybody, oh, this is great news. We're all one. We're all, it's really, the lady is a Muslim. Oh, this is great, so that we can all join hands with the Muslims. No, no, no. Let's start a war over that. It doesn't make any difference. This is truth. It's going against my harmony. It's going against what I want to be harmony. And isn't that what we do? See? We'll have harmony as long as the harmony is the way we want it. See? We'll play the music as long as it's the kind of music I like. And this is the problem. So the new song, the reference, you know, it says in Isaiah 42:10, sing unto the Lord a new song. And aren't we doing that here? You ain't heard anything. Why do you see some of the stuff that we'll be doing over the next few weeks? I mean, really, you have to come in here very mature, very open-minded, because you'll hear stuff that'll freak you out. I mean, for some of you who have been coming here a long time, you're going to hear stuff that you'll shake. And because you say, God. But I'll show you stuff to support, to substantiate it, but still in all, it's a crusher on your mind. Say, God, how can he say that? Well, how can you not say? How can you not say anything? Because whatever it is that you say, it's going to prompt you to think. And as long as you're thinking, you may disagree. But how can you even disagree? Because nobody can prove. But just think. All of these strange things, you know. I mean, you know, we talked this morning about the pedophiles in the clergy and everything. I said, oh, this is a new thing. When somebody says, well, I never heard of that. In ancient Greece, if you were the aristocracy, you were given a boy for sex. If you were of the lower class, you couldn't do it. But as long as you were the upper class, you had a boy. They used to send them out into war. They brought boys with them for sex. And Saint Francis? Wasn't Saint Francis? One of the Catholic saints was reviewing the different priests, and he writes in his ledger that they have sex with boys because they will not violate their oath of celibacy. Now, this is hundreds of years ago. This is nothing new. They're talking something like that. And the people who are homosexuals, Alexander the Great was gay. This guy was one of the toughest guys that ever put on a sword. The guy was gay. He's up there with a sword. Come on. I'm winning this one. And nobody messed with him. The guy was gay. I mean, this guy really presided over great political orgies. Who would know? Nobody ever. They taught me about Alexander the Great when I was in school. Never told me he was gay. Yeah. All of these. See, but I mean, these are things, when you start to sit down and talk about these things, we start to shake, and then, you know, like you do here when I say these crazy things, you just stare straight ahead. You don't dare. It's not me that's involved in it. You see? Because you can't, oh, God, how could this be? This is one of the great love stories in the Bible. One of the great romances in the Bible is about David and a young fellow named Jonathan. They were madly in love with one another. And Jonathan stripped himself of everything, of his clothes, gave them to David. It's a love story. And say, God, can we say such a thing? Well, we're the only ones that don't know about it. Pick it up sometime. Read the early stories of David. And read about his romance with Jonathan. And, of course, then he went on to bigger and better things when he saw Bathsheba taking her bath. And he committed adultery with her and then killed her husband. And then put his little jockey shorts on and went parading downtown in front of all the girls. Read about it. It's in the Bible. This is God's chosen one who wrote the book of Psalms. Praise the Lord. So those are some of the things that we'll get into as we go along. But see, those are not things that should shock you because they were written thousands of years ago. What is shocking is that you were never allowed to see them. You've been carrying a Bible in your hand all of your life, or have had access to one, but you've never seen these things. And I have things to tell you that make that look like grammar school. Really. Okay. But, as you'll say, how do I know? The Bible tells me. It's all in the book. It's all in the book. It's there. Well, anyhow, I just wanted to get to the end of this. In verse 14, Revelation 14:3 says, no man could learn that song. What's that? 14:3. They sung it as there was a new song before the four beasts and the elders. Those four beasts, incidentally. Those four beasts, if you have an old antique Bible sometime, look at it. In the four Gospels, the beginning of each of the Gospels, you'll see a picture of the beast. Christian Bible. Because the four beasts were the lion, the bull, the eagle, and the man. And the other four beasts, which indicate the four aspects of the zodiac, the 4 points of the compass. But look what it says. No man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. The 144. The song, the new song, you'll sing it, you'll hear it, you'll flow in harmony with it when you've been redeemed from the 666. And you're not going to be redeemed from the 666 all the time. But it's like taking a hike up to the mountain. Jesus wasn't up on the mountain all the time. Much of the time he was mingling with the people and they got all screwed up. And he said he couldn't handle it anymore, so he disappeared from their midst and went up into a mountain. But when you're up into the mountain, that's when you'll hear the song. That's what it's saying. When you raise yourself, but you've got to do it. You've got to raise yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. It can't happen by osmosis. You have to do it. See? Here's a graphic description of that which is redeemed or saved. Okay? 14:4. These are they which were not defiled with women. Now that is a degrading statement to make, okay? When you understand, however, that the word woman means the emotions, then you begin to realize it's saying the ones who are saved are those who are not defiled by their own emotions. The emotions are not charting the course of your life, your mind is. They are not defiled with women. They don't have intercourse with the emotions, for they are what? Virgins. Virgins. Means there's no thought. The consciousness is pure. The absence of carnal thought in meditation. They are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wherever he goes. That's the pineal gland of the brain. Who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and unto the Lamb. The first fruits is that which is the physical. And I'm not going to get into that because it's a lot of religious stuff, and, I don't get into that. So the redeemed, anyhow, are those which are the carnal thoughts which are raised above that which is the part of trouble. In 14:5 it says, in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. Being without fault means you are without thought. That means that you are in that split second. You can come in here on a Tuesday night, you can come in here on a Thursday night, you can go into meditation, and you may sit here for 30 minutes, and maybe out of that 30 minutes you may have 20 seconds of pure, absolute no thought. That's all that's necessary. All that's necessary. If you were sitting on a bomb in the chair, if there was a bomb wired to the bottom of your chair, it wouldn't take but 1 second. It doesn't require 45 minutes to blow you up. The twinkling of an eye. It's saying, but I'm trying to make a point to you. It doesn't require 45 minutes. It doesn't require 30 minutes to blow you up. It doesn't require 30 minutes to blow all the crap out of your head. It's instant. The power is awesome, and it's instant. Right? And then the life change, the life force changes. Now you can still have trouble with the person you live with. You can still have trouble with the people at the job and all of these kinds. But your reactions to it are tremendously more improved. But more than that, much more than that, you will begin to move in a Christ-like position, because what this thing is, not correcting your job, not correcting your home life, it is correcting the movement of this earth. It's a mess. And the time now is for the New Age to resolve it and make things the way they should be, and set people free. We were talking this morning, one of the great things that we had on this trip was to go to this dolphin place. And one of the most beautiful things they do? They have the dolphins trained and all that. Every night they open the gates and the dolphins swim out into the ocean. And then they signal them and they come back. And they had a hurricane down there. Remember the hurricane that went through Homestead? They were concerned the dolphins would get killed in these pens banging up against the things. They opened the gates and they swam out into the hurricane, into the ocean. And it was over. What did they put on their heads? Zinc oxide or something, so they could find them, and they all came back. And they're great. But what they do? If you don't stop, there's one dolphin there who has learned to imitate the laugh of one of the trainers. And he laughs just like this guy who laughs. And he taught all the other ones to laugh. And so they'll say, now please, when you go through here, stop and say something to them, because if you just walk by, they'll start laughing at you and making fun of you. And the people that walk by, that's exactly the dolphins. They're laughing at them and shaking their noses at them and all this stuff. But there's a certain amount of real rapport that you can get with them, knowing that they jump over the fence and leave whenever they want, or swim out and be free and come back of their own free will. This is what you have to do. You see, being penned in like a dolphin in a training pond, or a whale in a round cage in a aquarium somewhere, is exactly what we are into with religion. So we do it, we come up every once in a while, they throw us a fish, we go down, we don't make any waves, we just swing in a circle, and that's the end of it. But when you are free to swim out into the ocean and then come back if you choose or not, that's the essence of freedom. That's the essence of individuality. That's the essence when you're not being used only to that point that you want to be used. If you want to be used by your family to do some stuff, that's fine, if you want to be. But if you know that the door is always there where you can swim out to the ocean and say, hey, bye-bye, that's the essence of individuality, which you have to retain. And that's what this is talking about, to realize that there is a place within you. And I'm telling you, and as I conclude with this thing, it's so important for you to understand that this age is not fooling around. It's coming like a hurricane, and it's going to shake people down to their roots. And people that try to buck this are going to just be ground up. The Bible puts it this way: the stone that the builders rejected turned out to be the most important. And those that violate the stone, it will fall on them and crush them. It's not fun when you're out in your bathing suit expecting it to be 85 and it's 10 degrees below. And when you don't know what's going to happen, it's not because there's any God up there doing anything. It's because nature has plotted this. And this has been on the drawing board for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the age of Aquarius, and it's here. So what are you going to do with it? Okay, thank you very much. And